Alright, so I took apart the blender, Cuisineart BFP-10CH. Oh, I was just excited to blend my first smoothie, but I took this all apart, and since I fixed stuff, I figured I might as well. Fortunately, as I figured, this has a thermal fuse. It's this piece right here. You can see it's actually in a clear heat shrink tubing, something similar to heat shrink tubing. And that, of course, is for when the motor overheats. Now, this motor was incredibly hot from me using the food processor and the blender for a while. I could not touch it the way I am now. I mean, it would burn to the touch for I want to say 5 or 10 minutes. I mean, this thing was burning up. I would like to modify this in a way that it would actually do a safety shutoff long before mine did. I am worried about the magic smoke that came out because I'm not sure where that came from and if that permanently damaged it in some way. But by the way, this is a really sharp fan. Jeez. If you want to slice off your hand, just take off the bottom when this is going. So what I might actually do, so first off, this was an old used unit that I bought. And my guess is this thermal fuse in here, which, by the way, you can pull this up and pull it out. You know, that's like a holder. It's kind of a cool little whatever holder. My guess is that there's two things going on here, two problems. So one is the thermal conductivity is probably helped along with some thermal grease, which is probably not as thermally conductive as it was when it was new. This happens all the time with CPUs and GPU processors. That's redundant. Graphics processor unit processor. It happens all the time with processors where the thermal paste that's put on to increase, it's kind of a semi-liquid, to increase thermal conductivity actually turns into a really thick paste, like a clay almost. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case under here. Additionally, I would actually like to mount this. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's mounted on the coil, so maybe that does make more sense. But this is the part that was burning my hand, and I wonder if it was mounted here, if it would shut off sooner and actually disengage the motor a lot sooner than mine did. I much rather this thing shut off faster and protect the motor than go as long as mine did and have smoke come out of it. Not a great thing, but it does actually make sense. This is on the coil, but maybe I could do two of them as well. Anyway, I do kind of want to look into some hacking options here because this is a really nice blender. I like it so far, and I want to keep it going. It makes me sad, by the way. I looked up some information on this, and it makes me sad. Sites like iFixit and stuff like that, people comment, "Oh, just time to throw it away, time to put it in the bin." When somebody was asking the same question I have, which is, what do I do if my blender is smoking and won't turn on? That's a really stupid answer. I really don't like it when people offer a solution to a problem and their solution is throw it away. If that's, somebody can come up with that solution themselves. It's not rocket science. It's not helpful. And B, even if someone is going to throw something away, it's useful to know why you're throwing it away. What failed in it? How much does it cost to repair? Is it worth a hack or an upgrade? Or, knowing this, maybe the next blender you buy, you will be a little more conscious, especially if it's used, of investigating the fuse and how it's thermally connected. Knowledge is power, folks. And, that's what the internet is actually really great at, is spreading knowledge a lot of the time. So, sites where people think they're being helpful by telling them to throw it away is not helpful at all. And that's why I make videos, even if they're on a shaky camera and not the best quality, because I want people to learn from things like I do and create a database of knowledge. So it's interesting to look at this thing. It's actually pretty simple internally, but it doesn't seem to be poor quality or anything like that. You have your digital controller here for all the buttons and stuff. These things are such a simple beast. Like, they have all these, fancy names for the modes, mix and chop and puree and all that. But all it is just the motor running at a different speed. It's not actually doing anything interesting. I do wish it had a like a nice, interesting PWM cycle where it changes, like the motor kind of will do that or something, kind of go back and forth and do different modes. But I'm almost certain this is doing nothing of the sort. It's literally just pulsing the motor. So the PWM controller is sending pulses at a slower interval or a faster one. It's not actually changing the way the pulses operate. So yeah, a couple improvements. I guess I'll give my thoughts from a technical perspective. Granted, I've not owned any other blenders before, but I will say a couple other thoughts. So one is that it would be nice if the modes actually changed the way the motor, the spacing between pulses. But it looks like throughout it, it's just a 50% duty cycle, and it just changes the. I'm sorry, not a 50% duty cycle, but it just changes the duration of the cycle. Anyway, what are my other thoughts? This power board looks fine. It's always kind of cool to see these old one trace layer, one-sided PCBs. You don't see a lot of that anymore. Only on power supplies, like this, real old school style power supplies. And that's how it should be designed. Everything doesn't need to be super fancy, Wi-Fi enabled, blah, blah, whatever. This is pretty straight and forward. You got your relay here. I imagine this is hooked up to the fuse. In fact, I can see that it is for protection. You can see that blue wire go into this guy. Is it the blue wire or the black one? Anyway, you can see that the relay disengages the motor for safety. You have your diodes here and your bridge rectifier. That's very, very most likely to be a step-down, very simple, quick and dirty step-down power supply for a low-voltage rail for this microcontroller. And yeah, there's not much else going on here. You have a couple simple transistors here, NPNs most likely. Got your tactile push buttons, which you can tell by the layout on the back there, ribbon cable connecting it all together. I'm actually surprised there's this many wires for the ribbon cable to control this thing. I wonder if there's a microcontroller on the other side of here, actually. Can't quite see, but you have your switching diode or switching FET for your power supply. And there's not much else. Not much else to this. Quick and dirty. So yeah, if I were to design, if I could wave my magic wand and designed the world's best or my best effort at a blender, I would definitely add a second thermal cutoff fuse on the actual iron core here for the motor to protect it. I would add an error code, probably. It does blink. It did finally blink, the on light here. But, I don't know. A little tiny speaker or another LED that's an error light. I like the old school style. I like it when there's actually an error LED. It just, rather than having the power light blink or whatever. I know it's a little bit more manufacturing, a little bit extra work, but having that, second LED with the word error under it, really good for consumers to know this has an error. I need to look this up. You don't have to have a digital display with an error code. That's always nice, but that's overkill probably in this situation. But that would be cool. The other thing I would like is some of these do have an analog knob that you can turn for the speed adjustment. I think that's way better than these push buttons. Because with these push buttons, when you're changing the duration of the PWM pulse, it's good for the motor to wind down, to not just go hot and cold, full speed and then off. That's a lot of wear and tear. That can be a lot of wear and tear on the motor. And so if it has a gradual winding down, that's much better for it. It won't absorb as much heat when it's stopping the motor as well. So that'll help with heat dissipation and other stuff too. And those are the main features I would definitely like to see. Of course, you could do like an analog knob with a digital display number, just numbered increments. That would be pretty sweet, the same way that a digital soldering station does it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just dreaming here, thinking out loud of cool things I would like to see in a blender. If you're watching this, maybe you're bored out of your mind. I don't know. I'll stop talking. You probably just came to watch this video to see how to fix a blender, and I already showed you that at the beginning of the video. So yeah, definitely inspect this guy and replace it if you need to. though it is resettable. So if you wait a while, this cooled off even after the magic smoke. It's a lot cooler now, and it will work. Don't throw things in the garbage without learning what broke them. I mean, I guess you can, but learning about stuff is fun and helpful, and recycling is also nice. And these are pretty cool. Cuisineart, you know, not a terrible brand. Pretty decent, actually. That's it for this video. Sega Sonic Fan, signing out.